Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
You know, when you look at the business world today, wow, it feels less like a calm lake and more like some serious whitewater rapids.
Yeah.
The pace of change is just relentless, right? And that throws a whole new level of complexity at, well, every organization. So the question we're really digging into today is, how do businesses not just, keep their heads above water, but actually navigate this turbulence? How do they come out stronger?
Absolutely. And you're spot on. It's way beyond just reacting to whatever the latest disruption is.
Right.
What we're seeing really is a fundamental shift in how the more forward-thinking organizations are approaching risk.
Okay.
It's about slipping that traditional mindset, moving away from seeing risk as just this necessary evil, compliance hurdle you have to jump over.
Yeah, the cost center view.
Exactly. And instead, recognizing it as a crucial lens for making better decisions and ultimately for driving performance and creating long-term value.
And our insights for this deep dive, they come from a really interesting session. It was recapped in the RiskTech Journal in an article called Flip the Risk Conversation Forward. This actually happened at the 2025 Mitratech Interact conference down in Dallas. And it brought together some really sharp minds. You had Ryan Fox from Mitratech guiding the discussion,
Right.
along with John A. Wheeler, he's from Wheelhouse Advisors, and Andrea Elliott from ACI Worldwide. And, this wasn't just some theoretical chat. It was a room packed with legal risk compliance leaders.
Yeah, people on the front lines.
Exactly. People wrestling with these exact challenges day in, day out.
And what really stood out, I think, was this sort of collective understanding that the old playbook for managing risk, it's just increasingly outdated.
Totally.
These siloed approaches, constantly playing catch up, that stuff just doesn't work anymore when things are moving this fast.
No way.
So our mission, really, for everyone listening today, is to dig into the practical strategies that came out of this session. How can you actually build a truly resilient risk program? What are the key shifts in thinking that really need to happen?
And it sounds like the cornerstone, the real heart of this new approach is something John Wheeler really hammered home, this need to flip the risk conversation forward.
It did.
Instead of thinking of risk as this negative thing, this constraint that stops you from doing stuff, the idea is to see it as absolutely fundamental, like essential for making smart strategic calls and building value that lasts.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this flip idea a bit more. Wheeler had like a 3-part model for how to actually make the shift happen, right?
He did, yeah. He laid out this really helpful framework: flip, adopt, and manage.
Flip, adopt, manage. Got it.
So the first part, flip, well, that's all about that fundamental change in perspective we were just talking about. Moving away from the idea that risk management is purely about, checking compliance boxes.
Right.
Think about how risk has often been framed in the past.
Yeah.
You hear stories of audit failures, policy violations, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the fear-based narrative.
Exactly. And that kind of narrative, it tends to create a culture of risk aversion. Sometimes it even leads to paralysis, where people are afraid to act.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the risk department ends up being seen as the no people,
Yeah.
always pointing out what you can't do or where you messed up. That doesn't exactly build a proactive or collaborative vibe.
Precisely. Wheeler's argument is we need to completely reframe that whole conversation to really emphasize how understanding and, more importantly, effectively managing risk actually builds organizational resilience, how it gives you a clearer view of what might be coming down the road, better foresight, and how it ultimately leads to better business outcomes. It's about positioning risk management, not as some drain on resources, but as a strategic capability, something that genuinely drives value. Like, think of a company using this flip. Maybe they see a potential cybersecurity threat, not just as, oh no, a cost we have to avoid, but maybe as an opportunity.
How so?
Well, maybe an opportunity to build stronger customer trust by being transparent about it, communicating proactively, boosting their security measures. They could potentially turn a negative into a real marketing advantage.
Oh, okay, I see. Turning defense into offense almost. So we flipped the conversation. What's the second part of Wheeler's model then?
That's where adopt comes in. So this is about introducing a a unifying framework, something the entire organization can use to understand and prioritize its risk objectives.
A common language.
Kind of, yeah. And Wheeler presented a really insightful model here, PRAC.
PRAC. Okay, let me guess. Performance.
You got it. Performance, resilience, assurance, and compliance.
PRE, performance, resilience, assurance, compliance. Okay. So how does this framework actually help, pull everything together?
Well, think about it like this.
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the RiskTech Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
Performance that directly links your risk management activities to the organization's core strategic goals. Are your risk efforts actually focused on the things that could genuinely stop you from hitting your targets?
Right. Are we focused on what matters most strategically?
Exactly. Then resilience that looks at the organization's ability to not just, weather disruptions, but to bounce back quickly and effectively.
Makes sense.
Assurance then focuses on making sure you have internal accountability, that your key processes are reliable, they work as intended.
Okay.
And yes, compliance is still absolutely critical. It addresses all your regulatory obligations, legal stuff.
Yeah.
But the key is it's positioned as just one piece within this broader, much more holistic view of risk.
Okay.
So imagine launching a new product, right?
Yeah.
Using PRIC, performance, what's the risk? It won't meet market demand. Resilience, what about risk to the supply chain getting it made?
Yeah.
Assurance looks at, say, internal quality controls. And compliance, obviously, ensures you meet all the regs for that product type. See how each gives a different but really crucial perspective.
Okay, yeah, that really clarifies it. So it's not just about avoiding fines or penalties, although that's in there under compliance. It's much bigger.
Right.
It's about how managing risk actually contributes to the whole picture, hitting strategic targets, bouncing back from setbacks, making sure operations are sound, and operating legally and ethically.
Exactly right. It helps connect those dots that often feel really disparate, It shows that managing risk isn't some separate siloed thing, but it's fundamentally intertwined with achieving the organization's purpose. It ties together that high-level strategic vision with the nitty-gritty of day-to-day execution and those essential oversight functions.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And the third part of Wheeler's model is manage. What's the key shift there?
Manage is really all about breaking down those traditional organizational silos. Think about how often you see it. The cybersecurity team doing their thing.
Oh, yeah.
Legal, dealing with its own set of worries. Finance, focused on its specific risks. Internal audit, doing separate reviews. It's everywhere.
Right. Everyone in their own lane.
Exactly. And Wheeler argues that if you want to build true enterprise resilience, you absolutely need integrated risk oversight.
So getting everyone to speak the same language, basically, working from a shared understanding of what risk means across the board.
Yes. Common definitions are huge. Aligned objectives. And being able to actually leverage risk-related data across all these different parts of the business.
That seems critical.
It is, because without that level of coordination, you inevitably end up with blind spots.
Right.
And duplicated effort, tons of wasted time. You might be doing a fantastic job managing, say, financial risk in the finance department, but completely missing how it connects with and maybe even amplifies a critical operational risk over in another area.
You don't see the whole picture.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And Wheeler really stresses that this integration piece is crucial for showing the relevance of risk management by directly linking it to the overall business strategy, embedding it into the regular business rhythms. That's how risk leaders can really show tangible value
Mm-hmm.
and influence the decisions that actually matter most,
Okay. So this idea of breaking down silos, integrating risk, it's key to the manage part, which raises the question, how do companies actually do that in the real world? Andrea Elliott from ACI Worldwide, she shared their story, right? That offers some practical insights here.
It really does. Her case study is a fantastic, concrete example of how these, well, sometimes theoretical concepts can be put into actual practice.
Okay.
ACI Worldwide, they went on this multi-year journey to really mature their risk capabilities. And they centered their whole transformation around 3 key pillars: simplify, integrate, and enable.
Simplify, integrate, enable. Okay, let's start with simplify. What did that actually look like for a company like ACI?
Well, simplify for ACI, it was all about tackling the often pretty significant complexity that can just build up in risk and compliance functions over time.
Oh, I bet.
Elliott described how they really worked to streamline their policies. Getting rid of ones that were outdated or redundant or just not serving a real purpose anymore.
Good spring cleaning.
Totally. And automating a lot of the routine, repetitive workflows. Plus, they took a hard look at the responsibilities of the second line of defense, those oversight functions, and worked hard to eliminate overlaps and inefficiencies there, just make them more effective.
Simplify that sounds like music to the ears of anyone who's dealt with bureaucratic overload. What else did that involve?
Well, the outcome was key.
Right. So it sounds like they were essentially doing some serious housekeeping on their whole risk management framework, just clearing the decks to free up resources and attention for the stuff that really mattered.
Exactly right. By stripping away that unnecessary complexity, their teams just gained more bandwidth, more time for proper, in-depth analysis, and importantly, more meaningful engagement with the actual business operations. It wasn't just about processing things faster. It was about focusing their energy on the right things and doing them better.
Makes sense. Okay, and the second pillar was integrate. How did ACI tackle embedding risk management into their day-to-day business?
Yeah, this was really pivotal in their transformation. Instead of risk management being this separate layer of oversight, something you only deal with, periodically.
Like an audit or something?
Right. They actively built risk analysis into their core decision-making processes. So, for example, when they were planning new programs or onboarding and managing vendors or making key technology investments, risk considerations were part of that conversation right from the very beginning.
So risk wasn't an afterthought or just a box you had to tick at the end of a project. It was actually baked into the process itself.
Absolutely. And that shift made risk-related data much more visible. And really importantly, much more usable for the first line to people actually doing the work every day.
Oh.
It became more directly relevant to what they were doing, which empowered them to make more informed decisions in real time, understanding the risk implications of the choices they were making.
Gotcha. And the final pillar for ACI was enable. What was the main focus there?
So enable was really all about empowering the business units themselves, giving them greater ownership of managing risk within their own areas.
Okay.
This involved equipping first-line managers with better tools, providing clearer guidance on what the risk expectations actually were, and ultimately increasing their accountability for the risks right there in their own part of the business.
So kind of distributing the responsibility for risk management, but also making sure people had the resources and the know-how they needed to actually manage it effectively.
That's a great way to put it.
And Elliott also mentioned a change in how the second line of defense operated, didn't she?
Yes, that's a really crucial point. The second line, typically your risk and compliance functions, they shifted away from primarily being focused on, like policing and enforcement.
The risk ops.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
They moved towards more of an advisory and support role. Their main goal became helping the business make sound decisions from a risk perspective rather than just, pointing out errors after the fact.
That sounds much more collaborative.
Yeah.
And probably way more effective in the long run. Elliott also touched on something that, sometimes gets overlooked when we talk about risk management frameworks and processes. The actual organizational culture.
Oh, absolutely critical.
Mm.
She really emphasized that things like consistent risk education, making sure everyone understands it, visible support from leadership at all levels.
That's huge.
And fostering a genuine sense of shared ownership of risk. These were absolutely vital for their success.
Mm.
Risk management can't just live in policies and procedures. It has to be ingrained in how people think and act every single day. So ultimately, ACI's program evolved. It went from being, somewhat fragmented and mostly reactive
Put on fire.
to something much more structured, deeply embedded within the business, and fundamentally forward-looking. a really impressive transformation.
So pulling together these practical insights from ACI's journey and Wheeler's three-part model, what are the key takeaways for executives? For leaders looking to evolve their own approach to risk, the article highlights 3 strategic imperatives, right?
Yes, exactly. Wheeler and Elliott, they really distilled their key learnings down into 3 really crucial priorities for leaders. The first one is to translate the value of risk into action.
Okay.
It's just not enough anymore for risk programs to simply identify potential problems. They need to generate insights that actually drive better business outcomes.
Okay, so how does that translate into action, though? What are some concrete examples for our listeners?
Well, think about it in terms of aligning the organization's stated risk appetite, how much risk they say they're willing to take, with the actual investment decisions being made.
Connecting the policy to reality.
Right. It means taking the findings from risk assessments and turning them into clear, practical operational guidance. Like, what does this mean for Team X or Department Y?
Okay.
And it's also about equipping senior leaders, giving them the information they need to understand the risk-reward trade-offs that are inherent in pretty much any strategic choice they make.
Okay, that really clicks. So risk management needs to be seen as a source of valuable intelligence, something that actively informs strategic direction, not just, a cost center trying to stop bad things from happening.
Precisely.
What's the second strategic imperative that came out?
The second is to develop an integrated risk approach. As we talked about earlier with Wheeler's Manage pillar and ACI's Integrate efforts, this isn't just about buying the latest GRC tech system.
Right, it's more than just software.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about the people in the organization, the language they use when they talk about risk, and the overall priorities of the business itself.
So breaking down those silos we talked about, but it sounds like it goes deeper than just, say, getting departments to share data.
It does, yeah. It really requires active coordination across all those different functional areas. You need to establish shared methodologies for how risk is assessed.
Okay.
Develop consistent taxonomies, basically,
Yeah.
common dictionary, so everyone means the same thing when they talk about a certain type of risk.
Right, speaking the same language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And implementing unified metrics.
Yeah.
So that leadership actually gets a clear, comprehensive view of the overall risk landscape, not just little pieces here and there.
And the third imperative really speaks to the speed of business today, doesn't it? Managing risk in a much more dynamic way.
Absolutely. Manage risk dynamically and continuously. That traditional model. Doing risk assessments maybe quarterly, maintaining these static risk registers. It's just not enough anymore. Not in today's environment.
No kidding.
Organizations really need to adopt much more agile, more responsive practices.
So what does that look like in practice for a company trying to manage risk more dynamically?
Well, it involves things like implementing real-time monitoring of key risk indicators, or KRIs, setting up early warning systems to try and proactively identify emerging threats before they hit you.
Okay.
Engaging in horizon scanning, looking out further to anticipate potential future disruptions, and using tools like scenario modeling to better understand the potential impacts if different events actually happen.
Getting ahead of the curve.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive and adaptive, constantly reassessing, constantly adjusting your risk management posture rather than just reacting after something bad has already occurred.
These 3 imperatives, translating value, integrating the approach, and managing dynamically, they really do highlight this evolution the article talks about. Moving risk management from being mainly a control function to becoming a true core business capability, something that helps you win.
Precisely. And ultimately, all of this, it feeds into that overarching concept. Risk resilience as a significant competitive advantage. It's not just about avoiding the bad stuff anymore. It's about building this inherent capability within the organization to withstand volatility, sure, but also maybe even capitalize on opportunities that arise from change and disruption.
So resilience isn't like a destination you arrive at, a fixed state. It's more like an ongoing process, right? Something you have to keep building and continuously improving.
Couldn't have said it better.
And it demands that strategic alignment across the whole organization, that buy-in on why risk management matters from everyone, and critically, that operational agility to adapt when things inevitably change. It goes way beyond just ticking the boxes for the regulators.
Absolutely. By making that fundamental shift in perspective, by truly flipping the risk conversation forward, like Wheeler says, and adopting these comprehensive frameworks like pre-SARC organizations can fundamentally reposition risk management. It becomes a key driver, a driver of growth, of innovation, enabling smarter, more informed decisions, leading to stronger execution. and ultimately delivering better business outcomes. And really, at its heart, it all comes down to establishing that shared understanding, that common language of risk throughout the entire business.
So for you listening in, I think the core message here is pretty clear. Modern risk management isn't just about playing defense anymore. It's really about proactively and deeply integrating risk considerations right into your fundamental strategy and your day-to-day operations. That's how you build true, lasting organizational resilience.
Yeah. And maybe just one final thought to leave folks with. Consider this. How could you apply these very principles we've talked about, flipping the conversation, adopting a unifying framework, managing dynamically? How could you apply those in your own specific context, your own field or organization? And think beyond just avoiding problems. How could a more forward-thinking, more integrated approach to risk actually help you identify and then maybe even capitalize on emerging opportunities?
That's a great question.
And maybe as you reflect on that, think about which of those three strategic imperatives translating value into action, developing that truly integrated approach, or managing risk more dynamically, which one resonates most strongly right now. With the specific challenges or the opportunities you're currently facing, that could be your starting point, your starting point for flipping your own risk conversation forward.
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the RiskTech Journal at therisktechjournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com, or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.